Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Podcast. The first guest of the day hosts a new podcast called the Life New York Podcast, covers the Mets for WFAN, a producer for Sirius XM NFL Radio, and writes for Sports Betting Dime. Jake Brown, how are you doing this afternoon?
Doing well. Football is 76 hours away, and all is right in the world again.
Yes, all is right in the world again. I can't wait for football. Before we get into it, tell us about your new podcast.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's kind of what happens in the life in New York in terms of Mets, Yankees, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, and then as well as dating, the entertainment world. Soon enough, once we're only a month in here, we'll have more comedians and Broadway stars on and kind of take you behind the scenes of what happens in this city. And mixed in with dating stories from people via Twitter, friends of mine, or people who reach out to me with crazy stories. So it's a lot of different stuff. And even if you're not from New York, I think it's cool for people to know the crazy things that we deal with every day here, whether it's stories on the subway, a crazy person that you met, whatever it may be. So it's been fun so far.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to listening to it once you get on some of these comedians and whatnot, just to see the pop culture side of this. All right, before we get into predictions and whatnot, looks like Ezekiel Elliott is going to finally be signed here by the Cowboys. Does this change their outlook of their season, or were your expectations the same for the Dallas Cowboys with or without Ezekiel Elliott?
Well, I think they were going to sign him at some point. I think a lot of it, too, that people overlook is these guys are trying to miss as many practices as possible. No one wants to practice in the 90, 100-degree heat when these guys know and they do think that they're the best players on the planet. They have no interest in practicing for 6 extra weeks. They already have the 4 months of the season and then January and a week in February that they don't want that extra month of heat and dealing with that wear and tear. So they'll try and keep this going as long as they could, and finally it looks like they're going to get something done. Yeah, I mean, if he didn't play, I think that would have changed their season. If he could play the whole year, of course. But I think with Zeke, you got to look at the Eagles as the favorite in that division. They locked up their whole line, assuming Amari Cooper stays healthy. I know he's been a little banged up in preseason, but he looks to be fine, too. It's hard to doubt the Cowboys. And Dak is also going to be fighting now for a contract extension. So, he's probably going to be balling out this season to try and get his deal. He's seen everyone around him getting paid. So, I think the Cowboys have to be the favorite right now in the NFC. I know a lot of people like them to win it all. I don't know. I'm not really on that train, but, yeah, they're the division favorite with Zeke back.
I agree with you that they should be the favorites, and I think that they are very likely to win the division, although the Eagles will be right there. My official predictions are coming out tomorrow. All right. Let's do some predictions around the league. I think we agree on the AFC East. That's an obvious pick of the Patriots. So let's talk about the Pats and the AFC East for a second. So you think Tom Brady has another good year left in him? And do you think he's going to miss Gronk?
Yeah, I think, it's funny. Some people are picking the Jets. I work with Brian Custer at NFL Radio and Sirius, and he actually thinks the Jets are going to win the division. A friend of mine also who works in the industry, she thinks the Jets are going to win the division. So I think the Patriots are 100% the favorite, but there are people scattered that are picking the Jets. I'm not ready to buy into that yet, but I do think Brady is another good season. A lot of it is, forget about Gronk for a second. I mean, if Josh Gordon could just keep his head on straight and just stay out of trouble and play football, they have him, Edelman, and Demaryius Thomas as a number 3. N'Keal Harry's going to miss the first half of the season, but we know how the Patriots regular season rolls. They don't really need him until the second half and into the playoffs. So N'Keal Harry, the rookie, as a 4, and then we're talking about Ben Watson. So, I mean, the Patriots offense is just stacked. Mix in a backfield with Sonny Michel, and the rookie Damien Harris, and James White. I mean, they are just stacked from top to bottom offensively. Their defense is much improved this year. I mean, they're pretty damn good. So I can't really say the Jets are going to beat them because the Patriots just have too much talent. So it's really more about what's around Brady than Brady himself. I just think he has too many targets to fail this year.
I agree with you. The Patriots should be the team to beat in that division as long as Belichick and Brady are there, in my mind. How about the AFC North? I think there's 3 teams that could win this division, but only one of them can. Who do you like in that division?
I didn't think I'd buy into the hype, but I'm doing it. I really like the talent, and if they could just stay out of the headlines for talking and saying ridiculous things and dumb things or crying about the Giants, I think the Browns are going to pull off the division. I really think it's going to be, I think I said on my podcast, it's going to be a tie, and they'll win a tiebreaker with the Steelers. I like it to be Browns, Steelers, Ravens, and Bengals in that division, with the Steelers getting a wild card. I think the Browns just did enough both sides of the football to get better on defense. They got OBJ, Baker in a full season now. Nick Chubb with the chance to really dominate the carries in the backfield. No more of the Duke Johnson show. It's Chubb's backfield, and I think they're good. I mean, if they could just grow up a little bit. I mean, there's just too much talent there for them not to win at least 8 or 9 games. I think they go 10-6. I think the Steelers are right there with them. I don't think they lose much of a step without AB. I think Juju's going to really take off as an elite receiver if he already hasn't. So I just think they're a little bit short at receiver. So that's why I think the Browns are going to win the division. I think the Steelers will be right there with them probably at the time. And I think the Ravens will be close, but I look at the Ravens as an 8-8 team, and then the Bengals as like a 5-11 team.
Yeah, that division order sounds right, although you can flip Browns Steelers conceivably. And Juju Smith-Schuster, I'm a big fan of him. I chose him on my fantasy team. I think that guy is poised for a monster season. Who do you like in the AFC South?
South is maybe the toughest division to pick, and I know a lot of people backed away from the Colts because of Andrew Luck. I think they're going to be right there, but it's hard right now after getting Tunsil and adding Stills to the receiving core. And I know they gave up a ton of draft picks, but for now, and not looking in the future, right now, I think the Texans are the best team. They get Duke Johnson in there, they get Carlos Hyde as well. I mean, I think they have so much talent, and Kenny Stills is your 2 or 3 there. Cootie and obviously Hopkins. I mean, the Texans, even without Clowney was good. But this is a guy who takes plays off, and you watch him play in and play out. He doesn't dominate every play like a guy like J.J. Watt does. So I do think the Texans are a 10 or 11 win team. I think definitely going to hit the over whatever it comes out. I know they were originally 8.5. I assume it's going to be around 9.5 now. I like the Texans to win. I think the Colts will be closer than people expect. I think they're around an 8-win, maybe 9-win team. And then I think the Titans and Jaguars round the division. And part of me would like to see Nick Foles and the Jaguars do well. I think their defense obviously is great. I just don't know if he has enough talent around him, and if Fournette can stay healthy for me to really buy into the Jaguars offense enough. But they'll be intriguing. I know a lot of people are sleeping on them. But yeah, for me it's going to be Texans, Colts, Titans, Jaguars, and the South.
The South, I think, could go in any order. I'm not a big on the Titans. The Texans, I love the move for Tunsil. I agree with you about Clowney. He's a good player, but he's somebody that takes plays off. Like, people are treating Clowney like he's J.J. Watt. He's not J.J. Watt. I feel like I said, Clowney's a good player, but he's not elite. Like, he's not Khalil Mack. He's not J.J. Watt. Let's go to the AFC West.
The West, I think, everyone's picking the Chiefs, and it's hard to disagree with them. They're actually my Super Bowl pick in the AFC. I think the Chiefs take that next step. They mature. I think they'll have enough in the backfield. I think McCoy was huge as a backup, and Damian Williams people are expecting him to take off. I know he's in one of my leagues, and everyone's projecting that he's going to be terrific. And I think McCoy's just a good veteran to have as a backup in there, and he knows Andy Reid. Andy Reid knows him well, so I think that was pretty obvious that the Chiefs were going to keep an eye on him if he was available, and he was, once the Bills let him go. So I think the Chiefs just have enough. With Tyreek Hill not getting suspended, they're going to be pretty damn good. So I like the Chiefs to win the division. I think the Chargers will be close. The Chiefs will be somewhere around the 11-5, Chargers around the 10-6 range, or 12-4 and 11-5, whatever it may be. And then the Broncos in third, and then I think the Raiders will improve, but not enough this year. I think the Raiders will be somewhere around 6-5 10 and round out the division.
Yeah, I agree with you on the Broncos and the Raiders. I think those two teams will be better, but the win-loss records may not show it. I think the AFC West is a two-horse race between the Chargers and obviously Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. NFC East, you like the Dallas Cowboys, right?
Yeah, I like the Cowboys first. I think the Eagles will be right there. Again, that might be one that might be a tie, and Cowboys win out the tiebreaker. The Eagles have a lot. I mean, I like what they did in the offseason. I like getting Jordan in the backfield. I think they are a solid team. I just don't know if they're an elite team. So the Cowboys, Eagles, and then the Giants and Redskins to round out the division. It's a two-team race. I think the Giants and Redskins are by far 3 and 4. You pick which one you think is third and fourth, but that's going to be a fun one to watch between the Cowboys and Eagles.
Yes, that's going to be one of the better division races, the NFC East. That and the AFC West, I think, are going to be close. The AFC North, I think a lot of these are going to be close. And I think the best division in football might be the NFC North. Who do you like in that division?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think a lot of people want to take Rodgers and that improved defense that they have, and with LaFleur, they're hoping it works out. I still think it's the Bears, and I'm surprised that their over-under number was 9. I think they're a 10-11 win team again. I think their issue is the kicker. I mean, who's going to kick for them, and will they make kicks? I think that's going to be what's important. So I think the Bears are going to end up winning that division. I don't know. I just really buy the Bears again this year with Khalil Mack leading the defense. It's going to be close, though. I think the Packers will be close behind in second with a good shot to get a wild card. I think the Vikings will be there in contention. I just don't think they're good enough. Don't really buy Kirk Cousins. They're going to be around an 8-8, 9-7 team in third place, and then the Lions in fourth. There is not enough there defensively for the Lions to compete. But that's really could be a 3-team race for that division. So again, yeah, you're right. That's going to be maybe one of the dogfight divisions that we look at. But yeah, I'll take Bears, Packers, Vikings, Lions.
Yeah, I agree with you about the Bears and how they're being underestimated, in my opinion. They're only a 3.5-point favorite in their home opener. Like, I think that they should be favored by like 4.5, if anything. So, good call on the Bears right there, and them being underestimating. And yeah, that kicking situation is going to be interesting to see how that plays out. How about the NFC South?
The South is clearly the Saints division to lose. They're by far the best team in that division. I think the Falcons caught a lot of tough luck with injuries last year. I think they're going to be much improved as long as they stay healthy. So I think the Panthers are going to regress. I think Cam's going to be a problem. I mean, he's going to be crying more this year. I mean, he's going to be dealing with injuries. So I don't like anything really about the Panthers this year. I don't think they have a good receiving core. I just think they're going to be a disaster, and I think the Bucs will not be very good. So I think it's clearly the Saints division. The Falcons are going to be better. I'd like to see them compete with them for the division, but it's going to be Saints, Falcons, Panthers, and Bucs in the South.
Yes, the Saints should be the favorites to win that division. I think that team's going to have a big chip on its shoulder, and I agree with you about Atlanta and how they've had some poor injury luck over the last few years, and especially last year. And I really think that that's going to be an improved team with Dirk Cutter back at offensive coordinator. NFC West.
The West is clearly the Rams division. I think the Seahawks will be close again. It'll be the 2-team race there. The Cardinals, I am stunned. I mean, I said this on my podcast that you have to hammer. I mean, just take a Noah Syndergaard, Thor hammer, and take the under. Because I don't know how the Cardinals are at 5.5. They're going to be under. I'd be surprised if they even got to 5. Maybe they do. Say Kyler lights it up and they get to 5 wins. But that surprised me that they were that high in the numbers. So I like the Rams to win the division. Let's hope the arthritis settles down a little for Gurley. A lot of people have arthritis. I think I know it's a football player and that's not good, but that's a very common thing that people can deal with. I know it sounds crazy to say that, but I don't think Gurley's going to regress just because he put up just unreal numbers last year. It's impossible to put those numbers again. But everyone wants to shoot Gurley down like he's going to be a guy who carries the ball like 6 times a game now. He's not. He's still great. He's going to have a big year, and the Rams still have a high-powered offense. So the Rams are going to win that division. I think the Seahawks are going to compete for a wild card spot. And then the Niners, we'll see. I'd like to see the Niners win 8 or 9. You want Jimmy G and the contract to pay off. I mean, they paid him a boatload, and we didn't see him last year because of torn ACL. So I'd like to see them compete. I just don't think they have enough talent. And losing McKinnon for a second straight season is a killer to their backfield. I mean, Kevin Coleman and Matt Breida aren't anything to write home about as stud running backs. They're okay, but not studs. So I'll do Rams, Seahawks, 49ers, and Cardinals in the West.
Yes, the Seahawks did get better with the Clowney trade, but I'm still not convinced that they're a playoff caliber team because there's still holes on that roster, in my opinion. Like, the offensive line isn't great, and heck, their pass rush, even with Clowney, is still not that great. They trade away Frank Clark, although I think Clowney will help them, but I don't think that's a great defense per se in Seattle. And yes, with the Rams, I agree with you. I think Gurley's poised for a big season, and I'd like to see Jimmy G healthy too. And Arizona is a sub 500 team for sure, and probably going to end up with the top 5 pick in the draft again. Who are your AFC wildcard teams?
AFC, I have the Steelers and Chargers, and then NFC, I have the Seahawks and Packers. And I have the Chiefs defeating the Saints in the Super Bowl. I think the Saints seek revenge. I know they sought revenge. I guess sought is the past version of seek. They sought revenge last year. I think they're going to seek it even more this year after the no pass interference. And I think Drew Brees is going to have another monster year. But something about the Chiefs this year, I just think they're stacked. And I think Mahomes, with the year under his belt now, I think Andy Reid is finally going to raise the trophy, Vince Lombardi and the Chiefs. I think it's going to be an incredible Super Bowl, but I really think it's going to be a high-powered offensive Super Bowl, and the Chiefs beat the Saints.
That would not shock me if that was the Super Bowl. My Super Bowl prediction is coming up on my big podcast that I'm having tomorrow that features all the NFL predictions, so I'm not going to spoil my Super Bowl prediction there, although that's a pretty good pick in my estimation. Who's your pick for the league MVP this year?
Oh, I haven't thought that deep. I guess if I'm going to take the Chiefs, I'm going to say Mahomes is going to be the MVP. I think he's going to have another monster year. I think he'll throw for 40 touchdowns, maybe run for 10 or 15. I think he's going to put up 30, 35 points a game for that team again. If I'm picking them in the Super Bowl, I'll take Mahomes as my MVP.
That is an excellent choice. He's the deserving favorite for the MVP. I initially was going to pick Andrew Luck, but he retired, so I have to pick somebody different, and I don't know where I'm going with that yet. Who's somebody that you think can have a breakout season in the NFL? There's a couple guys I have in mind.
Breakout season. In terms of rookies or anyone?
Non-rookies, like second-year players making a jump, or even a third-year player making a substantial jump. Like somebody that's never made a Pro Bowl that finally makes a Pro Bowl or something like that.
I think for the Giants, I think Sterling Shepard is going to have a big year. I think he's forcing a big role as the number one guy there. And I know he's been okay so far, but he's not been Pro Bowler. And I think with Tate out for a quarter of the season, it's the Sterling Shepard show. So I think him, and I think a lot of people are expecting it on that Giants offense too. Evan Ingram, I think everyone's saying he's going to have a monster year. His problem is he's not been able to stay healthy. And especially we see Daniel Jones at some point. I mean, rookies, quarterbacks love tight ends and check down options. So I think both of them on the Giants, to me, I think it's Ingram is going to have a big year and Shepard will have a big year. The Giants won't. But I think someone's got to stuff the stats for that team. And listen, behind Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram, we're talking about guys like Russell Shepard and, Benny Fowler, guys that, unless you're a diehard NFL fan, you don't even know who they are. So I think they're bound to stuff the stats. So I'll say Shepard and Ingram.
Shepard and Ingram are good picks, and the Giants obviously need those two guys to have good seasons if they are to surprise this season. I have Sterling Shepard as a breakout guy on my list, but I like O.J. Howard of the Bucks. You mentioned somebody on the Giants offense or two people that have to step up. To me, other than Mike Evans and down in Tampa Bay, O.J. Howard to me is somebody that I think can have a breakout season for Jameis Winston and the Bucks under Bruce Arians' new system. How do you like O.J. Howard down in Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I think he's. I don't even know if I consider him a breakout, but I think he was already really good. So yeah, his problem again is staying healthy. If he could play all 16 games, I don't see why not. James loves throwing the tight end. Everyone wants to look at Cameron Braid a lot, but I think O.J. Howard is definitely the top guy outside Evans there. So I see him. I mean, he should, if all's right and he stays healthy, have over 1,000 yards this year.
Yes. And how about the rookies of the year, offensive and defensive rookies of the year?
Rookie of the year. That is, I haven't even looked into that deep. I'll say, putting me on the spot, I think Kyler Murray is going to have a good year. I think they are going to be terrible, but he will put up decent numbers. Will he be Rookie of the Year? You know what? I'll go with a sleeper pick here. I'll say Devin Singletary will be the Rookie of the Year. I think he's going to get a lot of touches for the Bills. I think he's going to have a chance to start. I think it's either going to be him or Josh Jacobs. Those are my two guys. I think two running backs that are going to get lots of touches this year, and they're going to duke it out. We'll see who has more. But I'll say Singletary, but it's going to be him or Josh Jacobs in my mind.
Both of those teams aren't supposed to be very good, although some people like the Bills to make a jump. Singletary's a good call. Don't forget Miles Sanders in Philly's another running back people like. Mike Montgomery of the Bears. I wouldn't rule out Dwayne Haskins if Jay Gruden goes to him like in the third game of the season, if Case Keenum struggles out of the gate. I don't think Daniel Jones will be in play because I think that they'll go to him probably later on in the season. So there's some interesting candidates for the offensive side. And for the defensive side, there's some interesting guys out there too, like Quinnen Williams of the Jets, Devin Bush of the Steelers, Devin White of the Bucs, Nick Bosa of the Niners, and there's a bunch of other guys that I can think of on top of my head right now in terms of the defensive side. Who would you like for a defensive rookie of the year?
I think I'm going to go with Nick Bosa. I think he'll pick up a lot of sacks this year. Devin Bush is going to be an intriguing watch for sure for the Steelers, but maybe it's me going with the namesake and the name recognition. But if he could stay on the field, I do think Nick Bosa is going to have a monster year because this is a guy you don't even think of him as a rookie, maybe because Joey, but like you just think of him and his build and his frame and his family as being just football bred. So I just feel like he's more of a veteran. So I think he's going to have a monster year for the Niners defense.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule him out, obviously. There's, like I said, there's a couple candidates for that. How about first coach fired?
First coach fired.
There's one significant favorite out there in Vegas in terms of the odds, and I think that's a very likely candidate.
I guess you go Jay Gruden, I would say. I don't know who is the Vegas favorite now?
That's who the Vegas favorite is. He's a significant favorite, like a plus 230 favorite to be the first coach fired, and then there's a bunch of other random guys that are like 8-1, 10-1, 15-1.
Yeah, I think it could get messy there with the whole quarterback situation and what they do. Because do they throw Haskins into the fire? I mean, their offensive line is not good. The team isn't good, period. But their offensive line isn't good. And do you want to risk Haskins getting hurt? Is he ready? I'd like to see him. We know what Case Keenum is. I don't think Case Keenum's going to really help that offense that much. So, yeah, I'll say Jay Gruden. I think they could get on the 4-12, 5-11 team. And if they get off to say like a 1-6 or a 1-5 start, I'll say Jay Gruden. I think he's got a short leash.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think that is the most obvious choice, too, if they get off to a slow start. Who's a player that you think's under the most pressure this year to have a good season? Or to help their team make the playoffs?
Well, I think Dak needs a big year with this contract not signed yet. I mean, it depends. See, we're having a conversation when it hasn't been signed. So as of now, I think Dak needs a big year because if he regresses or he plays mediocre, I don't think Dak is worth anywhere near 35 to 40. I know the 40 million thing was just a rumor. That wasn't actually, there was no truth behind that. But I'd like to see him take the next step. I mean, I don't like the Cowboys, so I'd rather not. But in terms of him as a player and developing, it'd be nice to see him take the next step because to me, he's not anywhere near an elite quarterback, and there's still a lot to see from him. So if he wants to get that contract extension, you'd like to see him have like a 35 touchdown, 8 interception year, just a dominant year, and run the football well as a quarterback. So I think Dak is under a lot of pressure because he doesn't play great. I mean, the Cowboys don't need to extend him. They can go elsewhere. I don't think he's the end-all, be-all at quarterback for them. I think there could be other options out there in the off-season. So I think he's under a lot of pressure. I'll say Dak just because he hasn't signed that extension.
That's a good call, and I picked him as my fantasy quarterback because he's a good runner and he puts up a lot of rushing touchdowns, and his offense is better. Like, Jason Witten's out of retirement. You have Amari Cooper the whole year. Like, Dak should have a good season, and especially now with Ezekiel Elliott probably back in the fold, I expect him to have a good season, but I don't know if he'll have a great season. Hopefully he has a great year because of my fantasy league's sake. And for me, players under pressure, Odell Beckham Jr. to me is under a lot of pressure because he's on the Browns now and he's finally on a good team. And I feel like if the Browns don't make the playoffs or underachieve, people are going to point the finger at him because people are pointing the finger at him with the Giants, and undeservingly so, in my opinion, with the Giants. And that probably led to him being traded because the Giants didn't like his actions. So I think he's under pressure. I think Kirk Cousins in Minnesota is somebody under pressure with the second year in his contract. And if they underachieve, then that's going to be looked upon as a bust free agent signing. So there's a couple guys I can point to under a lot of pressure. Who would you say is under more pressure, Cousins or Beckham? I'd say Cousins.
Yeah, probably Cousins, because Beckham's got all that money locked up, and Cousins just was so beyond mediocre last year. I mean, it was hard to watch him at times. And some of his numbers are inflated because they'd be losing games and he's forced to throw. He just threw so many check down routes and 5-yard passes that'll inflate his numbers. But I'd like to see him take more deep balls and have more success and avoid turning the football over this year because that's such a tough division that he's in that they need him to be elite and live up to that contract. So I'd say Cousins. I think if he doesn't take that next step, people are going to really question him as a quarterback and him as a player. And he was, at one point, before he signed that free agent deal, was highly regarded. And now I think people, Twitter, whatever it may be, like to mock him and, use the whole gif in the video if you like that he said as a joke. And he's going to become a joke if he doesn't have a big year. I mean, the Vikings very much underachieved last season. And I know they're in a tough division. They got good teams there. But if they don't get a playoff spot and he doesn't have a great year, I think the chatter on Cousins of how good he may be and how much he robbed the Vikings is going to become more apparent.
Oh, absolutely. Who do you think was the most impactful addition to a team this offseason? You could go in a number of different directions here, like Tunsil or Odell or Antonio Brown. Who do you think is the most impactful ad?
I think it's got to be Le'Veon Bell with the Jets. I think if they want to take that next step and compete and take themselves seriously, as a lot of people are, and the new GM being aggressive with them, I think Lev Bell's got to return to his old Steelers form because he was sensational statistically, but just watching the guy and his style and patience and his ability to wait to find a hole, I mean, it was so unique, Walter Payton-esque, that we haven't seen anything like that. And just watching him play is fun, and you just got to put everything on the side, and the wrapping, and the chains, and girls wrapping you, everything on the side. Just go out and play ball, and he can do that. And listen, I think there's a lot of distractions there now that he might not. But if Le'Veon Bell could do what he used to do, there's reasons that there are some people picking the the Jets to win the division or make the playoffs, and it comes down to him. It obviously comes down to Sam Darnold taking the next step, but they bring in Khalil, the center, to really help that offensive line. They get Osemele. They got some pieces there. You got Crowder and Robbie Anderson, Quincy Enunwa, Hurt coming back at some point from suspension. There's things around him that Darnold can have success now, but Le'Veon Bell needs to be a big part of that, not just on the ground, but as a receiver as well, and he's been successful at that in the past. So I think he is a big addition. Le'Veon Bell will make or break the Jets being in a playoff race. If he's not good, they go from him down to Adams and Bilal Powell. I mean, it's a huge regression if he's out or if he's not good. So it's make or break. I think he's the guy from this offseason that's huge for the Jets.
Good call. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even list that one as I was going through possibilities. Mine is Tunsil because the Texans' offensive line was the worst in football, and now you can't say that with the addition of Tunsil. He's a top 5 offensive lineman in my mind, and he's somebody that's immediately going to help Deshaun Watson and give him more protection, as the Texans should be an improved team from last year. So I'm going to go with Laramie Tunsil. One more thing on football before we switch over to the Mets. What's your bold prediction of this NFL season?
Oh, bold prediction. Looks like I think that. You know what? I'll say this. I think that Daniel Jones will come in for the Giants by week 5. There's a bold prediction. I'll say here, week 5. When is the Giants bye? I forget. I think they have like a stretch that they have a bye, and then they play like Arizona, and that's the time that I think he's going to get in there. I think we're going to see Daniel Jones earlier than we expected. I think a lot of people are expecting Eli to go deeper into the season. I think Daniel Jones will come in before the midway point, and I think he will play well. I think he will do well enough to be the starter next season, and that might be it for Eli. So I don't know how bold that is for you, but I'll say Daniel Jones before midway point plays well, and he's the Giants starter next year.
Interesting. I think he's probably there around after the bye when they play the Cardinals. I believe week 5 they play the Patriots, so that would be a ballsy spot to put Daniel Jones in his NFL debut. So maybe the week after the Patriots game is when they could put him in. That's conceivable, but I think it's not going to be till after the bye. So that's pretty bold. I'm going to say that the Green Bay Packers don't have a winning season this year. That's my bold prediction because that division's really tough. The Vikings and the Bears are in that division, and I'm not sold on Matt LaFleur being a good football coach. And Aaron Rodgers, yes, he played all 16 games last year, but he's somebody that's had some injuries a lot throughout the last couple seasons. So I'm going to say that the Green Bay Packers have a non-winning season. What do you make about that?
I would say that's bold. I would be surprised if the Packers are under 500. I just think their defense gets so much better, and they filled holes. There's some huge holes defensively that they filled this offseason. So, yeah, that's bolder than mine. I didn't even think about that, but I would vehemently disagree because I think the Packers will be better than that. But we'll see. I can see it going either way. You know, Rodgers also gets hurt so many times that if he does get hurt, their backup, I don't know, I forgot his name, but I remember it's not Kaiser, it's someone who's not good. I think it was like Tim White or something. So if he does get hurt, your prediction will definitely come true.
Yes. It's probably banking on either a Rodgers injury or the defense not being as good as people think. And I consider that a bold prediction because a lot of people have the Green Bay Packers winning their division, and I know some people that are picking them to go to the Super Bowl, which I think is a little outlandish. Quickly before we go, we'll talk about the Mets. Do you think Mickey Callaway lasts even though they went on this nice run here?
In terms of next season, I would imagine not. I mean, you would just be shocked if this idiot lasts. I mean, he is just so dumb. I went off on the podcast this week on it to start the show just about Sunday and just using a minor leaguer for 1 out and Daniel Zamora and not starting Nimmo or Davis and not pinch anyone Davis when he could tie the game. or taking the lead with one swing of the bat, and it's just nonstop, game after game. There's something he does that just makes no sense. Even games they blow out, like last night. I mean, Bachelor gives up the homer. You still have 4 runs, no one on base with 2 outs. Just let Bachelor finish it. You put this minor leaguer in the game. You're up 4 runs. Let him get the 1 more out instead of wasting Diaz, and then we're going to have the excuse of he either can't go tonight or can't go tomorrow because of the 1 out he had to do. And it's things like that. He doesn't think about the next day. He doesn't manage for the future. He manages in that moment, and usually it's a poor decision in that moment as well. So it's time after time we see him just make boneheaded decisions, and I think the only way he stays is if they make the playoffs, and even then, to me, I don't think he does. But if they make the playoffs, I mean, it's a hard sell for him to say, "Oh, we're going to get rid of you." So listen, I would be shocked if he's back next season. I think the clear-cut move is go get Girardi, get someone who's actually managed before. Enough of these guys who've either been out of the league, like Terry Collins, or who've never managed, like Mickey Callaway. And for the first time in 2 decades, can the Mets get a manager with some brains and some experience? I mean, we got to look back to Bobby V or a Jerry Manuel to say the last manager the Mets hired that at least made some sense. So let's hope they make the right move. So I'll say, yeah, he's gone.
I think he's gone too. And Joe Girardi, there's going to be some competition for him. I think you guys are not alone there. I think the Phillies, if they miss the playoffs, gave Kapler be bye-bye. And I think they'll go after Girardi. I think if the Cubs don't make the World Series, Joe Maddon's out. I think they're the favorites to land Joe Girardi because don't forget that the Cubs almost got him in 2013, but Joe decided to come back to the Yankees. And he was with the Yankees for a couple more years. Then the Yankees fired him after the 2017 playoff run, which I thought was stupid at the time. But I get why they fired him, that they wanted to go in a different direction, and like time has run its course for him in New York. So I think Joe Girardi's poised to get back into the game, whether it's the Mets, the Phillies, the Cubs, and don't run out the Washington Nationals for Girardi either, because if they lose in the wild card game, I think there's a world where Davey Martinez gets fired too. I don't think he's a good manager at all. I think the NL East doesn't have very good managers in it, other than Snicker from the Braves. And Mattingly I like. He's gotten a lot out of some players with the Marlins, but the NL East does not have that many good managers at all. So I think you're going to have some competition for Joe Girardi. Buck Showalter would be another interesting hire, by the way, if the Mets were to decide to go with him. But Girardi, to me, should be the Mets' top target, although I think it's unlikely that they land him. Peter Alonso, is there any way he doesn't win Rookie of the Year?
No, and don't disrespect him. You got to take the R on the name. I mean, he's the Polar Bear Pete. Polar Pete. He's rookie. I think Tatis out for the season helped a little bit, but I think he was rookie of the year anyway. The fact it's saying something about the Mets that he's the franchise leader. I mean, the Mets have never really been a power hitting franchise, but to hit 43 in a rookie year, and he's still got a month to go. I'm just rooting. I want him to get to that 50 mark, and that would be remarkable. And you just see what the Mets have in the future. This guy put up the 100 ribbies, and even his defense. I mean, I know the knack on him defensively is that he goes after everything. And he's got to let the second baseman get some of these balls, but he's aggressive. That's one thing I think in the offseason they'll probably work on, and I don't think it's a bad thing. It's like he likes to go after and get the ball, but at some time it's tough for the pitcher to get over, or it just sets them up for a tough position to get the out at first. But more times than not, he makes a play and they get the out. He has been awesome. I haven't seen many moments that he's made mistakes at first. I mean, he hasn't made many errors. He makes scoops. He makes stretches. Stretch he made yesterday was just remarkable. He's made all these stretches, and he hasn't hurt them at all defensively. In fact, he's helped them. So the fact that he's helped them defensively, and obviously we know what he's done on offense, I mean, it's truly incredible. And I never thought he would be this good right off the bat. So I think he's an obvious Rookie of the Year candidate. And the fact that he's even in, he's not going to get it because it's going to be Yelich or Bellinger. But the fact that he's in the MVP conversation is amazing in itself, what he's done. So and just everything off the field. The guy it's impossible not to love Pete Alonso. So yeah, he's your rookie of the year.
Absolutely. I'd be absolutely dumbfounded if he didn't win the award. It's like if Aaron Judge didn't win the AL Rookie of the Year in 2017, but he did in runaway fashion. His rookie year reminds me a lot of Judge's from 2017 with the Yankees. Jed Lowry's supposed to be back this week. What do you expect from him in this last month of the season?
I think Lowry will be interesting because I think he's really going to be more of a bench player. I think he's going to come off the bench. They'll probably play versus lefties. Maybe they'll give McNeil a blow versus lefties and have him play, or they will give Nimmo a blow and McNeil in the outfield and Lowry in the infield. Cano's going to need time off. You have, against lefties, you play Lowry at either second or third. You play him at second, maybe you have Frazier at third. It gives the Mets a lot of options, and it's not a bad problem to have because it gives them one option to start, and then it gives them options off the bench late in games if they want to do a double switch for defense, or if they want to use him as a pinch hitter. You won't have to see Luis Guillorme, and I love Rajai Davis. I'd like to see more Rajai Davis. We're unfortunately not going to see much of him. I know I'm the one-man leader of the Rajai Davis fan club. Unfortunately, once Lowry's back and Cano here, we're not going to see much Rajai. But still, I mean, you have Rajai Davis now as a backup of a backup, essentially, because you have Frazier, Lowry, and then you go to the guys like Rajai and Lagares. So the Mets bench will be deep, and if they somehow did go on a run and made the playoffs, I mean, their postseason roster would be pretty damn good. And if they could make it, listen, it's still a pipe dream, but if they made it, they win that one-game playoff. I don't think anyone wants to face the Mets with a fully healthy roster with that pitching staff. They would be very dangerous in October. So I'm curious. I want to see Lowry get back first. It's coming to the point where it would be hard. I don't want to knock on wood. Let me not jinx myself. I mean, the Syracuse season is about to be over, so it would be hard now for him to injure himself again. At this point, he's just got to come back, be a pinch hitter, and you work him out and just hope he doesn't get hurt. But I think he'll be a fill-in and a backup and a pretty damn good one. And then you hope that he's ready and he's a starter maybe next year. And where the Mets are going to slot him, who knows? Maybe at third, and then McNeil's in outfield every day, and they trade Nimmo. I don't know. But the Mets will have a good problem on their hands if he doesn't get back.
Yes, they will. And one last thing, the bullpen. I think that's the key reason, other than Mickey Callaway's misusing of guys and whatnot, is why you guys are probably not going to make the postseason, because the underachievement of Diaz is absolutely brutal, and obviously Familia hasn't been great. Luis Avalon's been okay. Seth Lugo's been a somewhat savior, but if Diaz and Familia were better, you guys are probably a wild card team right now.
No, you don't have to tell me twice. I mean, Diaz, if he blows half of them, Mets are first in the wild card. I mean, he's been the difference in the season, and it's unfortunate, but, I mean, you got to live with it. And the good thing is, at least the last week or two, I guess, he's come around a little bit. It seems like DeGrom has helped him with his slider, and that's working better for him. He threw 100 yesterday against the Nationals, so I don't know if I had seen him reach 100 yet. So it seems like Diaz is slowly regaining confidence, and I think taking him out of the closer role and making Lugo the guy was important. Justin Wilson has been awesome this season. That looks like an incredible signing now by Brody Van Wagenen. So I think Wilson is good. Avilan's been good. The problem is, again, with the Mickey misusing of him, he's so obsessed with the righty-righty, lefty-lefty idea that he will only use Avilan for 1 or 2 outs instead of using him for an inning. On nights like Sunday, he used him for 2 outs when he knew he was down Wilson and down Lugo. He couldn't use them because they pitched 2 days in a row, or Lugo pitched 2 innings the night before. He uses guys 1 or 2 outs. He's got to trust these relievers, let them go full innings, and throw the righty-righty, lefty-lefty thing to the side, because you don't want key games with Paul Sewald, Daniel Zamora, Tyler Bachelor. You don't want to see that ever happen, because if it does, you're not getting into the playoffs. You don't have a shot. So you want your big guns out there. You want Wilson, Diaz, Lugo, Avilan. Those are your guys you want to be using as much as you can, and you just hope your starters can go 6 to 7 innings, so you don't have to overuse them and every night have 1 or 2 of your top relievers going. They've been better, and you're right. They have been a big problem, and the reason they're not going to get the wild card, most likely, but I will say they have improved lately. Let's see if they can keep it going, and let's see if Mickey can manage them right.
Yep, exactly. So when's your next podcast release coming out?
It should probably be next week. I'm trying to figure out a time with Lenny Dykstra, but he's out of his mind, so it's sometimes hard to work a time out with him because he's doing other things and maybe other humans at different hours of the night. So it's hard to ever figure out a time with him. But next week we should have something, and I'm working on. Yes, but the NFL preview show is out now. Take a listen to my picks and over-unders for all 30 teams as we get, or is it 32? It's 32. Teams. I always mix that up, 30 and 32. 32 teams. All the over-unders are out this week. So I try to release them on Monday mornings. So usually every Monday there should be a new pod out.
Yes, so Lenny Dykstra, that's a good one. I'll listen to that one. It was good to have you on again, and maybe I'll have you on again next month if we can talk more into the NFL season and what's happened and the Mets' decisions as well. Have a good day.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me.